Rotimi is founding coach at Unleash Awareness Coaching. He is a TA partner and is super passionate about sharing his knowledge in diversity, inclusion, belonging. In today's session, like I mentioned, he's going to be kind of diving into the techniques and strategies, right, that you can leverage to engage with diverse talent and really build relationships, right, with your candidates from that very first touch point. And this has kind of been a running theme, right, throughout our sessions over the last couple of days is candidate relationship building. That's really at the heart of everything, and really finding, right, those moments and those topics, those key elements that are going to resonate with your candidate and their persona. So as Rotimi and I were connecting on this session ahead of the event itself, we really wanted to create a space for conversation, right, and learning. And so that's what this conference, right, is all about. So as you've gotten into practice doing over the last couple of days, right, share your thoughts and perspectives in the chat, ask questions. We're definitely looking forward to your engagement. And with that, Rotimi, I'll let you take it from here. And I'll stop sharing my screen so we can all see everybody's faces, but I'll let you kick things off.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So I'll just get right into it because I think in talent acquisition, we understand that so many recruitment teams struggle engaging with top talent. Now, I reckon this is because oftentimes organizations exist in old paradigms of talent acquisition. They're not strategic enough in their talent sourcing or engagement approach. So as a precursor to this conversation and to ensure this is relevant for you and for your organization, I would like you to reflect on your organization's approach to sourcing neurodiverse talent, their approach to sourcing queer talent, to sourcing women, to sourcing talent from competitors. And throughout our time together, as we begin to explore some of the models which companies like IBM and DocuSign have leveraged, really think about that as you explore how these modules might be suitable for your organization. Because what I've seen is that many times organizations simply rely on the organic pipeline that's generated from their job postings, or they simply rely on the success of a handful of their recruiters' personal brands. And the vision that I'm communicating today is how organizations are able to really come to the forefront of accessing diverse talent networks by carefully crafting their employer brand, carefully crafting their candidate messaging to ensure that they're able to build resonance with these diverse communities of talent. Now, I think it's very clear that what we're talking about today is important because until organizations are able to step into this new reality of understanding how target communities of talent engage with your business brand, and leverage that awareness to create recruitment experiences which resonate with top talent, your organization will be unable to fully take advantage of the innovation potential which comes with having a diverse modern workforce. So a little bit about me and where my interest in this comes from. I've gone through a new hire experience at some of the world's largest brands, and I've been very focused on ways that they're able to improve not only their candidate experience, but their new hire experience. I spent the last 2 years working in full cycle recruitment and talent marketing at IBM in Toronto, Canada. And that's allowed me to become very keenly aware about how this lack of awareness, regarding how to properly communicate your employer brand with external talent audiences, coupled with the lack of internal frameworks, so ERGs, internal communities, to support the employee experience of your diverse talent pools, again, really influences the retention of that top talent. So the core of what we're going to be exploring is how we can create organizations or how we can optimize systems within your organization to be able to more strongly build resonance with diverse communities of talent. So for new recruiters in the audience, what can you expect out of our time together? Really, this is a roadmap through which you're able to generate a sustainable pipeline of diverse talent. So we're going to transition from focusing solely on sourcing candidates, but how can we source partners, So whether that's with universities, diversity organizations, skills development organizations, and through that, lay the foundation through which your organization has direct access to top talent pools across the country. For talent acquisition managers, this also is a roadmap, just the tip of the iceberg, however, on talent attraction and recruitment strategies to nurture a high-performing recruitment team, one that's dialed into the most innovative ways to direct talent attraction. And again, I'll be sharing some of the processes that companies like IBM and DocuSign have taken to ensure that their employer brand effectively resonates with top talent. And for global TA leaders, this is a toolbox on how you can operationalize new models of talent attraction, new models of talent engagement, and really maximize the potential of your talent acquisition teams without adding to the cost of resource. Brief introduction, my name is Rotimi. My last name is actually Ojo, and I represent the next generation of talent. I am the go-getter that joins your organization, curious to understand the systems in place and how to optimize them. I am a community builder who excels at nurturing creativity and holistic relationships. More personally, I was born on the Arabian Peninsula in the Sultanate of Oman. I moved to Nigeria at the age of 2, where I completed most of my early childhood education. And growing up, I had the wonderful privilege of traveling to the UK, the US, Dubai, and several other countries prior to moving to Canada in 2016. So this topic is near and dear to me because personal experience has allowed me witness the power of community at work in enabling top talent thrive. Okay, because especially as you've gone through the past 2 years, if it's taught us anything, it's that we really do need to recognize the individuality of talent in the room, how to ensure that as an organization, we're creating the conditions for them to thrive, regardless of what they're experiencing and their personal circumstances, how they're able to show up with strength at work, because that's the only way they're able to effectively contribute to your company's mission. So before getting into the meat of our session, I'd like to give a huge thank you to the content development team at HireEZ and the folks I've been connecting with over the past couple of months. We actually co-created a presentation deck, which I'm no longer going to use because I'm confident and we are confident that you can find the most value with a short discussion if you're dialed in and intentional about what you'd like to learn during our time together. So again, feel free to put in the chat if any ideas are sparks during our time together, because those sparks, however minute, are incredibly impactful, and I'm personally looking forward to getting to those during the Q&A. So a little bit breakdown on the structure of what we're going to be discussing today. We're really going to be looking at the end-to-end candidate experience. So prior to candidates joining your organization, where do they find the opportunities to join your company? What is their first impression of your employer brand, and does it resonate? And how are we as talent acquisition professionals able to assess whether it resonates with these communities? Now, say it does, and say a candidate has successfully applied to a role at your organization. What is their experience interviewing to join your organization? Who is on the interview panel? Does the interview panel represent the diversity of folks that you're seeking to join your organization? And again, give your organization the benefit of doubt. Say it does. What employee experience initiatives are present? And are those being continuously assessed and improved so that, again, we can increase retention, we can increase the performance of top talent when they do join our organization? I'm of the opinion that recruitment doesn't and shouldn't end with filling seats. So also, how can your recruiters play a significant role in contributing to retention? And that's also a little bit of what we're going to be exploring at the end of this keynote. So I thought a good place to start would be by exploring some of the talent acquisition models that I've gotten some exposure to during my time at IBM over the past 2 years. And I think one of their most unique approaches to securing top talent is the foundation of partnerships that they've built, and which is so central to their diversity talent attraction approach. So for example, and again, you want to make sure that this is relevant for your organization, which partnerships does your organization presently have in place to dramatically increase its access to pools of Black talent, for example, or to pools of queer talent? And I can highlight the partnerships in place within IBM across several demographics, but I'd like to focus in on the neurodiverse community. Okay, and I think this is a unique community to assess because not all disabilities, not all measures of diversity are visible. So in recruitment, and as we're looking to increase representation of all diverse communities within our organization, how are we able to employ a heightened state of emotional intelligence through the conversations that we're having with candidates in a way that's respectful, in a way that's inclusive, in the absence of any clear indicators that that's required? And now, if you're a smaller organization and you haven't necessarily built out the capacity within your recruitment teams to effectively support, for example, the recruitment experience for neurodiverse folks, you might be interested in an organization that's called Specialist Turn. So they were founded in Denmark. They established a Canadian not-for-profit organization. They have presence in the US as well, and they enable organizations to access the severely underestimated and underutilized talents of folks on the autism spectrum. And this partnership, again, is particularly unique because their team actually managed the recruitment process for select roles, which I think is a great solution, again, if you're concerned about the present strength of your recruitment team in modeling a recruitment experience that enables your neurodiverse talent, for example, to thrive. And while partnerships like Specialist Turns are able to support in that way, this definitely isn't a crutch, because more long-term solutions for talent attraction must involve enablement of your recruitment teams on how to properly engage diverse talent from all spectrums of life. So through this very quick example of how partnerships are able to, one, strengthen our access to underrepresented talent networks, I'd like to quickly recap what some of the benefits of this partnerships model has been at IBM and also the potential that it has for driving talent attraction for your organization. Well, one, in which I just mentioned, is that it promotes your organization's brand presence among underrepresented and often hard to find talent networks. It offers a direct link of visibility between your company brand and diverse talent networks, which is absolutely invaluable. Two, it also allows you to begin creatively framing your messaging and your recruitment experience to reflect the values of these diverse communities. Those partnerships are a hub through which you're able to build an understanding with your partners of what is valuable to support their talent thrive during the recruitment process. So whether that be the common accommodations that are required, or you're given with a sharper understanding of relevant points from your company's value proposition, which are particularly beneficial for these communities. And I think you'll naturally find that your recruitment model will then shift to one which is more value-oriented, already is able to build resonance with these communities because of that awareness that your recruitment teams is equipped with, not only on how to handle conversations with diverse communities, but also what is required to enable them thrive during the recruitment process and ultimately when they do join your organization. And during the next bit, towards the end of this keynote, we'll be discussing more considerations around the organizational culture piece on how to ensure that when you do successfully attract, successfully recruit, successfully employ diverse talent, the frameworks are present within your organization to allow them to succeed. And again, the exciting role that recruiters are able to play in nurturing a dynamic employee experience. Because it isn't common that we find recruiters really impacting the employee experience initiatives that are present in organizations through ERGs, through these partnerships. And so for new recruiters in the room, I'd like you to dial in to ways that you're able to create an impact for your employers beyond simply filling seats. And I'd like to highlight a last bonus of partnerships. And this is particularly for businesses that really do have the capacity to go the extra mile. Because one of the benefits of partnerships is that you're equipped with also where the skills gaps exist within these diverse communities. And you're able, if you are, to create programs that actually focus on upskilling this talent. So it'd be STEM education programs in schools or in locations in which you source most of your talent from. Or it might simply be leveraging the partnerships in place to actually make their existing skills development programs more relevant for your organization. And you might be wondering, how do you do that? Well, you increase the representation of your recruitment team, you increase the representation of folks that are working on the business at partner-led programming. You share about the common skills that your team is looking for. You get your VPs of talent attraction to speak to the skills roadmap of 2030 and how you're seeking partners that are able to contribute to nurturing that pipeline of talent and that pipeline of skills. So there really is an opportunity here to focus on building bridges for the long term, because I reckon that when we do, the power of our organization in attracting talent that could be the so-called golden unicorn of candidates will actually increase. And so that's a little bit about partnerships. So for the next bit of our time, I would like to explore more of the employee experience side. I think we're clear that partnerships are able to redefine our candidate search strategy. So we're not simply relying on LinkedIn, but we're tapping into talent networks that already exist. But let's explore how recruiters can transition from that, okay? Because take, for example, a LinkedIn search. Within the Canadian context, a LinkedIn search might exclude Indigenous communities of talent that have limited access to internet. So that's where those partnerships come in, and fortifying your organization's presence within these communities, building that understanding that your organization is there to do the work of connecting with them, understanding where the gaps might be, building bridges, offering opportunities for them to connect with folks from the business and develop their own understanding of what's required to succeed in your organization. Because psychological safety and the trust that talent has in your brand is so crucial for them to even send in an application in the first place. Talk less of them performing at their most optimum level when they do join your organization. So for the next bit of our time together, let's explore then how, let's say you have the partnerships model in place, how can you then ensure that your messaging is relevant to these target communities? And for that, I would like to highlight DocuSign, which during my time there has an incredible model for doing this. So I was a part of the DocuSign Diversity Recruitment Board, and the whole goal of this board was to iteratively assess the extent to which their messaging resonates with diverse talent. So both from a talent marketing and communication standpoint, okay, so functions which exist outside of the core recruitment function, but nonetheless contribute to effective talent attraction. And then also we have naturally recruitment events and the way our recruiters show up in their talent marketing efforts. So this diversity and recruitment board consisted of our head of outreach and inclusion, okay, guiding us through the importance of partnerships and their role in promoting DocuSign's brand presence. So I want you to think about this relative to your organization. It had our US talent acquisition managers and recruiters providing insights into the challenges of the existing talent marketplace. What are you hearing during your interviews? How are we able to increase our competitiveness when we source talent from these communities? And that's not only from a monetary standpoint, but an employee experience standpoint as well. The board consisted of VPs of sales across different geographies, different business units, again, advising on that skills roadmap of the next generation of talent. Core skills that are required to significantly advance the performance of the organization in a way that's reflected to their shareholders. And this board also included individual contributor sales folks, of which I was one at the time, to share of their own experience within the organization. What has supported them in feeling belonging or not, and collectively, with this board that's consisting of cross-functional leaders, folks that are really invested in pushing the boundaries of what's possible within talent attraction, within diversity talent engagement, okay, with a clear focus on driving resonance with top talent. So let's focus on some of the actionable steps that came as a result of this. One, company brand awareness decks were created, talk tracks that were uniquely catered to the specific audiences that we were reaching out to. So it's not a singular deck that we're using when we go to source neurodiverse talent and we go to source women and we go to source veterans. No, we're catering our messaging towards these communities at the time that we're going to connect with them. And I'll share a couple more examples about that in a second. They would incorporate employee stories in the company messaging. So going away from mere historical facts, this is our organization, this is when we started, this is what we do, and a generic call to action, come apply for this job. That doesn't work anymore. We'd have a weekly or bi-weekly sync based on the existing needs of the business, the roadmap in terms of the hiring forecast, the quality of talent that was required to join the organization in X given time, working with our recruitment teams on how they were able to procure a sustainable and long-term pipeline of folks that really trusted the business, okay, and the quality of experience that they would have should they join our organization. And then also how we're able to leverage ERGs, employee resource groups, how we're able to not only maintain a strong community within our organization, but how we can build through that internal community to grow interest in the company from diverse communities externally. And there needs to be a match there, because if your employees can't speak authentically to what your employer brand promotes, then there definitely is a mismatch, right? So I said I'd share a couple of examples about how to tailor that messaging so it's unique to the communities of talent that you're going into. Well, one, if you say we'd like to hire more women, are we inviting prominent women leaders within our organization to speak to their journey of growth with your company? If you'd like to hire more veterans, are we speaking to the mental health resources available and the backbone of community support, which has enabled other veterans thrive within our organization? If we'd like to hire more queer or more Black talent, what are the frameworks of career development which enable these demographics upscale in a way that increases their likelihood of career progression? Within year one, within year two, what mentorship programs are available, what events allow them to explore their unique strengths and follow their passion for the way that they want to grow their career. These are the considerations that are top of mind for top talent. This is what they want to understand your organization is able to give to them, because only then are they able to contribute to your organization's mission, understanding that they are fully cared for. And one of the most important ways for your organization to recognize the diversity of the folks that you'd like to join your organization is by simply recognizing it. It's by quitting the cookie cutter approach and adopting a customized model, which communicates confidently your company's value proposition for diverse communities. And that's because representation at recruiter events matters. Representation on interview panels matters. The way you communicate your company benefits and internal company structures matters. Because the quality of your organization is being assessed by candidates on the degree to which you're able to recognize and cater to their uniqueness, their individuality, the extent to which you're able to set up a building block that is sustainable for them on their career journey. And so we need to shift the focus to the folks that are the very bloodline of our organization accomplishing their mission. And that requires your recruitment teams, it requires the folks that operate in the business, it requires that your business leaders are able to effectively communicate that value proposition to whoever is before them at the time. Now, I didn't feel like I could wrap this up without mentioning artificial intelligence. So I'm going to mention artificial intelligence, and that's it. But no, as artificial intelligence grows its usage in human resources, I believe the recruiter role is naturally going to evolve into that of talent partners with hiring managers, talent partners with external organizations, and naturally talent partners that are at its core responsible for procuring that long-term pool of talent. So in terms of your organization's relationship with its talent acquisition structure and its recruitment teams, your recruiter and your DI enablement must be advanced. And it must be advanced because the state of the world today asks for it. It must be advanced so that your recruiter's personal brands and the way that your recruiters show up in social media reflects the company mission and the company vision. And how do you equip your recruiters with unified messaging that is able to effectively speak to the selling points that early career talent would find in your organization, that senior talent would find in your organization? Well, you need to have talent attraction assets. You need to have decks that exactly speak to that. So when your recruiter has an interview the following day, they're able to quickly assess, okay, this folk is technical. This is what we found that technical folks benefit most from their experience with our organization. How can we speak to that and ensure that the messaging around that is unified? Okay, because your recruiters are also translating these talent acquisition priorities to your hiring managers. Recruiters have a role of influence and a role of authority in promoting diverse representation on the interview panel, educating hiring managers on the talent acquisition frameworks for partnerships and why it's important that hiring teams are indeed actively reviewing these sourced candidates. And that's where noticing the skills gaps come in. Because if you're working with a hiring manager who's so focused on just filling the role for tomorrow, is your recruiter equipped with information on the ROI that these diversity partnerships have had on business performance? Are they equipped with an awareness of instances in which top talent has joined the organization, has stayed with the organization, and has been able to really create an impact in their role? This is what recruiters need to be able to very confidently communicate, not only to external audiences, but internally, because it's a fuel that they're going to use to build community through ERGs, through conversations with other employees, through conversations with new hires. It's a fuel that they're going to use to influence hiring managers to pay closer attention to the importance of drawing in a diverse pool of talent, and especially working with dissenting hiring managers that just want to get the hiring ticket filled as soon as possible. Okay, so that's a final bit. So really, you need to be able to equip your recruiters. You need to be able to recruit. So you need to be able to equip folks that are committed to advancing diversity within your organization with shareable internal knowledge that demonstrates that the partnerships we have with X are actually valuable because these are the ways that it contributes to our company's mission. These are the ways that it contributes to our company's business. Because if you set up all these partnerships and you frame the way you're messaging candidates and your hiring managers aren't on board, or your hiring managers don't see the value, then this could very well fall flat by the time these candidates are being reviewed by the hiring team. So to close, I'd like to give a huge shout out to recruiters, because there's absolutely no way your organization's mission can be accomplished without the mission critical role of recruiters. The role that they play in contributing to the employee experience, the role that they play in guiding your hiring teams to understand the importance of diverse talent, the role that they play in sharing your company's mission, your company's vision with external talent audiences, and really being champions for your organization. And we need to invest in enabling our recruiters to effectively translate those talent acquisition priorities to candidates. We need to invest in our recruiters so they're able to effectively drive efficient working relationships with our hiring managers. We need to invest in our recruiters so they're able to be creative in advancing some of these changes relating to partnerships, incorporating feedback from multiple layers and multiple chains of the organization so that your organization, powered by recruiters, are able to effortlessly attract, engage, and eventually retain top talent. And so if you'd like to continue this conversation afterwards, if you'd like to explore how some of these models can be practically applied within your organization, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. And I'm definitely looking forward to the Q&A and answering some of the questions that came up during this conversation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rotimi. That was a great session. Lots of really meaningful takeaways and actionable insights, right, that I think folks can take away and bring back to their teams. Seeing a lot of positive shout outs in the chat. What questions do we have? Awesome. I see a question from Amanda here. What is the best advice for recruiting entry-level candidates?
There's so many angles I could go about answering that question. As a recruiter, while interviewing candidates at IBM, I'd really focus on the personality traits of that unique candidate. You'd find that some candidates might prefer a working style in which there's full autonomy and they're not getting micromanaged by their managers. Some are looking to join the organization and really contribute to these employee experience initiatives. Some are more quiet and just prefer to be on the back burner, whatever the case may be. I'd really focus on building an understanding with the candidate and speaking to their experience and what they're looking for. And that's where listening comes in. So they might say, I'm looking for an organization in which I'm able to do this, I'm able to do this. And as recruiters, in order to effectively communicate the value prop of your organization to candidates, you also need to build a strong relationship with your hiring team. Ask the hiring managers, what's a day in the life of this role? What's the career progression for this role? When they do join, when would they be looking to go into their next role? That information doesn't come from the recruiter themselves. It comes from the hiring team. So you need to see yourself as a pillar and as a bridge where you're able to connect the uniqueness of the role that you're recruiting for, the uniqueness of the team that you're recruiting for, with the unique experiences that early career talent might be seeking when they do join your organization. And that would be my best response.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Amanda says thank you as well. And I think definitely that connection, right, between hiring manager, recruiter, and the candidate, it's like the trifecta, right? You have to have all three kind of really aligned to create that right experience. And especially for, new grads, folks in their early career, giving them that space to kind of enter into the workforce confidently and feeling like, okay, yes, this is the right fit for me. This is going to be a meaningful first step in my career. Absolutely.
Totally.